A new show premiering later this week on Apple TV Plus, Lincoln's Dilemma, is based on writings of David S. Reynolds' book called Abe, Abraham Lincoln in His Times. Now, Reynolds grew up right here in Rhode Island, and I had a chance to catch up with him about how this all came about.
Abraham Lincoln has outwitted just about as many historians as politicians of his own day. Unless you understand what is going on around what he is saying, you can never really understand Abraham Lincoln.
This series, it's a 4-part series streaming on Apple Plus, and it's so well done based on your book. What do you think it is about the former president that still fascinates us more than really any other president this country has had?
Yeah, well, in my book, Abe, Abraham Lincoln in His Times, I show that his real dilemma, his problem was that he hated slavery. He was actually close to African Americans personally. His dilemma was how to get rid of slavery when there were certain sections of the Constitution that were pro-slavery, and there was a whole section of the nation that held people in slavery. And even in the North, there was a lot of racist thinking and everything. So how to keep that nation together? Now, unfortunately, he didn't want to go to war, and at the beginning, he couldn't make the Civil War a war for emancipation, because if he did that overtly, what was going to happen? He was going to lose the border states.
Lincoln's #1 agenda is unification. It is not the abolition of slavery.
Growing up in school, and I mean history all the time, I mean, we always heard Abraham Lincoln was the great emancipator, but as you said, he didn't really set out to be that person. It kind of happened, and he kind of had to conform and go with it.
He had to go with it. He basically wanted emancipation, but he didn't want to, surrender even the South. I mean, he sympathized actually with the South, and to some degree, and he had to stay on what he called his tightrope. He was compared to Blondin, who went back and forth across Niagara Falls many times, and sometimes he would have to lean to the right, sometimes he would have to lean to the left. And he managed to sort of politicize his way through his great tact, his humor, sense of humor, and his basic sense of values and virtue. And he was aided by African Americans like Frederick Douglass, the African American troops who were so incredibly heroic.
Frederick Douglass is every bit the equal of the President of the United States.
And in the series itself, it talks about Frederick Douglass always being in the president's ear and always being on basically the same level as the president at the time, and really kind of pointing Lincoln in the right direction to make things happen.
Yeah, Frederick Douglass, as the series shows, was his kind of conscience to a great degree, a very good conscience, brilliant conscience, pointing him in what was the direction of justice and equal rights, compelling Lincoln. With respect to equal pay for African American soldiers, with respect to making it mainly a war for emancipation. So, yeah, very, very important.
He was trying to navigate the currents of really irreconcilable ideas.
Can you imagine what would have happened to the country if, say, someone else was elected and Lincoln wasn't the person in charge of the country at that time? What would have happened to the United States as we know it?
Unfortunately, a lesser person like Stephen A. Douglas, his opponent, a guy named Bell, they were so ready to make concessions to the South that they probably would have allowed the South to maintain slavery and to allow to expand slavery. The South actually had its eyes on Mexico, Cuba, taking over. And then what would have happened at that point is that once you have all these slave states, additional slave states, then you have more representation in Congress, in the Senate and everything, and suddenly you have a whole government that's tilted towards slavery. So slavery could have lasted in America for quite a long time. So Lincoln had to be both cautious in keeping that political balance, but also very firm.
What we're seeing today is what happens when you fail to talk honestly about your history.
And I know it's very hard to tell, but what do you think if Lincoln was to see what has happened to Basically, look, I mean, our country in the past maybe five years, I mean, even before that, but more so in the past 5 years, what do you think he would think of what has come of the United States? Did we learn anything?
Well, we learned that to have great leaders, you have to have a sense of moral integrity, firmness of more, and also a sense of compassion. He said that malice toward none, charity to all. He was so open, and but he was so firm about his commitment toward the rights for marginalized people, for example. And I think he would stand on that side. But if he were alive, he would be a good enough politician, I believe, to kind of bridge that divide in a very effective way. And so he also would have used the media, I think, pretty effectively because he was very canny about public opinion. He said public opinion controls everything, but he would be pretty appalled by the divide in the country.
Yeah, it is very sad. Well, sir, thank you so much for joining us. If you ever come back home to Barrington, you're 5 minutes from us. We would love to have you in here. Lincoln's Dilemma is streaming right now on Apple Plus.